Patterns allow us to further enhance our applications automatically. Applying a pattern is very simple, and from that moment on, GeneXus creates objects and configurations that provide interesting behaviors without the need to program them. Note that transactions, for example product type, have a sector called Patterns. Within this sector, there are 2 tabs available, and each one offers a different pattern to be applied to the same transaction. Let's select the Work with for Web tab. To apply this pattern, we only need to select the Apply on Save checkbox and save. Once the process is complete, if we look for the product type transaction in the KB Explorer window, we can see that there are several new objects. These objects were created by GeneXus as a consequence of having applied the Work with for Web pattern. Press F5 to see the new running behavior. If we look at the Launchpad, we see that to access product type, we now have a new link called www product type. We select it, and it takes us to a screen where we see the product types we have entered. This page allows users to work with product types with a wider range of functionalities. For example, if we click on Update for the first row, it opens the product type transaction to edit the selected product type. We change the name and confirm. Doing this takes us back to the initial screen for working with product types, and we can see the change made. The delete link allows us to delete the product type from the line as long as there is no related data in other tables. And the insert button allows us to enter new product types. Clicking on it opens the product type transaction, ready to enter a new product type. We are only asked to enter the name because we have set the AutoNumber property of the key attribute to true. Again, after the insertion, the application returns to the initial Work with Product Type screen. Note now that each product type name has a link, Asimin, Sadmin. Let's click, for example, on Medicines. As we can see, a screen with 2 tabs is displayed. The first one shows the detail of the selected product type, and this other tab shows the list of products that belong to that type of product. This product tab was generated automatically because each product type has several related products. If each product type had more related data, such as brands or laboratories that supply them, they would also appear as tabs to show the list of corresponding data. Let's go back to product types and notice that it is possible to search by name. This means that if the user types, for example, the letter M, only product types beginning with that letter will be displayed. Okay, let's go back to GeneXus. So far, we have only applied the Apply on Save checkbox on the Work with for Web tab of the product type transaction. And from there, we could see all the functionalities that were automatically generated. We did not stop to look at this tree, which has nodes, subnodes, and elements that can be configured to customize the behavior to be generated. Now let's repeat the same procedure to also apply the Work with for Web pattern to the product transaction. We press F5 to generate and run the Work with Product page. We see the same query options we saw in the Work with Product Types page. We want to add a new product, so we select Insert. We confirm and see that the application returns to the Work with Products page. If we stop to look at all the information, we see that the product type code is displayed, which is irrelevant data for the user. Also, we remove it. We go back to GeneXus, and in the product transaction, pattern sector, work with for web, we customize the tree. We select and remove product type ID. Next, press F5 and run again and see the changes. Okay, now let's add more products consecutively as we saw before. We go back to GeneXus, and in the product type transaction, we go to the patterns sector and this time to the work with tab. We apply it in the same way and save. If we click on the list node, in the window to the right, we see a grid with the product type name attribute. Unlike the work with for web pattern, the screen layout is already shown with a grid instead of a list of attributes. Now let's look at the detail node, which shows the detail of a certain grid line. This node is composed of two sectors, general and product. Just like was implemented by the work with for web pattern, the general section shows the data of the selected product type, and the product section shows in a grid all the products associated with that product type. If we go to the KB Explorer window, we see that below the product type transaction, there is a new object named Work with Product Type. This object has no other objects below it because it includes inside it all the necessary sections to define its entire implementation. Let's see this Work with Product Type object at runtime. For that, the approach is to create an access menu to be the first object to be executed. This object will display a text and an image so that when the end user clicks on it, the Work with Product Type object will be executed. To create this new object, we go to File, New Object. And in the box, under the User Interface category, choose Menu and name it Pharmacy Menu. By default, this type of object has the main program property set to true, which will allow us to execute it independently. Now let's define the necessary action. We right-click and choose Add Action. We must indicate the object to be executed, so we choose Work with Product Type. In this way, an event associated to this action is created, and we can see it from the source. To customize this action, we go to its description property and enter List of Product Types. We can also select an image from the set of images available within the KB. If we wanted an external image, we can include it. Okay, we already have everything defined, so we can execute this menu. As we have already explained, since it has the main program property set to true, we can execute it directly. Then we right-click on it and choose Run. We can see the execution directly in a device or in an emulator, as in our example. By tapping on the image, we see the list of product types offered by the pharmacy. When selecting a product type, its detail is displayed along with the associated products. Obviously, this is a very simple demonstration, as it is possible to achieve much more sophisticated applications. In the next video, we will see the possibilities offered by GeneXus to generate the application in other languages or for other databases.